guys, this is Wenzes from Below the Radar Above the System, and now I want to talk to you about relationships with other intuitives. So it doesn't matter if you're an INFJ with other intuitives. I think this is a typical thing with intuitives in general, but of course I'm going to speak from my perspective, so more like the INFJs and talking to other intuitives. Intuitives are less common and than sensors. This is not like something new to us, but the closer we have like intuitives in our lives, the more we have to be careful how the situation turns out, and like having like a really positive way forward, because it can cause a lot of problems. It can cause a lot of pain because of the expectation that the other one will understand us better. If you're really looking out and being perceptive to those things, I think it's really easy to spot who's an intuitive and who's a sensor. I can tell you if somebody's more, you get like, if you really go out in the world and you really take notice of those things and you make sure that you really think about who's that person, then you really get a feel for it and a feeling for it. And now if I look back at it, of course there are a lot of sensors that I don't really get along with that much, but then I just like leave them out of my life. It's much more difficult when you have intuitives in your life. It can be ENTPs, INFPs, ENFJs, I don't care, whatever it is, just like intuitives who have like one of their main functions is an intuitive function, because as I said, there is an understanding. There's a feeling of home. And once you have that feeling of home, somebody can hurt you much easier. If you have a sensor, you know that there's something that they don't get. You don't feel it really, but you can be so close with somebody. Like I had this, I've told you this, I had a very long relationship with an ESTP. And since it started when we were really young, we kind of became like this one person. You can imagine, because there's, you can completely project onto the other person and so on. But the more intuitives I have in my life, I really realize what kind of things he didn't see about me, and things that also could bother him really. Like in sensor really cares about what you do on the outside and doesn't really care about what you really feel inside. So let's say I feel like I'm the strongest person around. I feel like I'm, awesome and so on, and I'm better than everybody else. This is just an example. And then you have but you don't act like this on the outside generally. Then it's much easier for an intuitive to get upset, because they know, who do they think they are? Why? Because they can understand that the other person, or me in that example, is thinking of themselves as something better. It's much easier than that. And sensor would much just look at how you act, and if you act forthcoming towards others and there's no like outside thing you do that makes you look like you think you're something better, then they won't get upset. So with intuitives, there is this difficulty that can be very, very beneficial once you get over it, and it can be very painful. That's why it's so important to really put out what you really think. So if you think you're like better than the other person in something, for example, then maybe you should show that to the intuitive if you want to have a good relationship with them. And if you want that person to accept you for who you are, and you really think you're better than them in, I don't know, let's say drawing, and you have like two people and you always make them, oh, this is so good what you're drawing and so on, and you're giving them an impression of, this is so great what you do, and you put your own self on the back burner, the intuitive will most likely understand that there's something you're withholding from that person. And as I said, this is just an example with my father. I had never had a better relationship from that point on, when I told him that I cannot stand the way he talks to me, that I really need to have like harmony in my atmosphere, and that this is important to me, and that I don't like it, and that I'm gonna really put a stop to this, and I'm not allowing him to act like this. There was a lot of ways where I wanted him to understand me, and he wasn't able to. And once I did that, he was able to. He was really able to hold on to something. And then once that happened, then I really understood that, especially with intuitives, it's so important to really show something, be something. Especially INFJs tend to really keep to themselves and not express themselves at all. Like, you don't have to express yourself in an ESTP manner. You can do it, you can do it just from not being persuaded through others, being self-assured of who you are, being not allowing people to treat you a certain way. But if you don't show any boundaries, if you don't show anything, there's no way the other person can read you, intuitive or not. We have always this understanding intuitives are other intuitives, or even an INFJ. You think the other INFJ is so much like you, they're supposed to understand you. Or ENFJs or INFPs who have like some things with us in common but not everything, and we think, well, they should know better. They should know who we are. They should know what we mean, especially because they're intuitives. Can they not tell what we do? No, they cannot. Because if you look at other types, for example, especially if they're judgers, they're putting more vibes out about who they are or what's important to them. That's what helps you to read them. And the people I cannot read were exactly the ones that didn't show what they really thought at that moment. How do you expect another intuitive, it may be an INFP as well, it may be an INFJ as well, but how do you expect that person to understand who you are if there's nothing they can read you from? Like, I know INFJs don't need much to really make a conclusion about who the other person is. You see that one person always does that one thing, and then the other thing, and then the third thing, and then you have a conclusion who that person is. It might not be correct, but you do get conclusions rather fast. There are patterns and so on. But you still need 1, 2, 3 to put something together. You do need that. And we are the champions of number 1, not putting out 1, 2, 3, and then leaving complete parts that are part of us out. So if we show somebody just 1, 2, 4 all the time, and we're scared to show that our strength, our determination, our sometimes entitlement, or about thinking, well, listen, I need to be treated a certain way because I know I'm going places, I know what I'm worth, you can't treat me like this. I'm not talking about if this is right or wrong, I'm just saying what you feel at that moment. But if you leave that part out, that for example, you always hold in as in, don't do this to me, you're gonna keep pushing me, at some point I'm just gonna flip and then I'm really gonna hurt you. That part that you're leaving out is very often this, let's say, number 3 that I'm talking about. And you leave that out, there's no way the other person can understand who you are. Other people are gonna make their own conclusions on you anyway. But the best you can do for them to really understand who you are is to also show them that 3. If you only show people 1, 2, 4, and this is always just like positive things and so on, people will know that there's something you're leaving behind. They cannot really conclude what this number 3 is, and they're gonna push you to show them this number 3. They're gonna push you to show you, for you to show that part, because there's no way they can make a conclusion because they know you're keeping something from them. You want to have a great relationship with other intuitives? Make sure to show more of who you really are, and that includes all parts of you. That includes positive, that includes things when you're angry, this includes things when you feel entitled, this includes things when you feel you're better than somebody, and this also includes shame or being feeling weak. Like, all those things are part of each one of us, and most people really only show you the good parts, the things that everybody wants to see. But being authentic is really being all those things, and the more you're able to really put that out there, the more other intuitives can understand you. You can even put out something, let's say there are intuitives who lie, and they put something out there because they're ashamed of who they are. even then you can more easily read those people. Like I've seen this with other intuitives. I can read them and understand, okay, well, they're doing this because they want to cover up for this part of who they really are, and so I can make a conclusion on that. But if you are not putting anything out, which is the most common thing for INFJs, then there's no way another intuitive can understand you. It's even much more difficult for them to understand you, because we need SE matters in order to understand others. We pick up things through our SE. There's some kind of things we need to observe really to make a conclusion. And this is, I think, the part that we leave out very often. If you don't put anything out, there's no way another intuitive can understand you, although you think, well, they should understand why I'm acting like this. No, we're too different. Like, I don't even care if you're another INFJ, we're too different for somebody to really make a conclusion about what's important to you if you're not putting enough evidence out for them to make a conclusion. So keep that in mind. It's a practice thing. You keep doing that and it will work. Be willing to have uncomfortable moments with those intuitives in the beginning. In that moment, you have to tell them who you are and things that hurt you or make you mad. But in the long run, it will make your relationship so much better. Okay, so this is my take on that. If you like the video, comment, share, and yeah, click the like button, and thank you for your participation. Okay. Bye. That I do somewhere else, and it's okay, like there is this distance. But what I've experienced throughout that whole thing is, I think that the more then INFJs will most probably take a step back and let them